Good evening, boils and ghouls.
Is this a bottle opener on this lighter?
Yeah, it's a lighter bottle opener.
Really?
Yeah.
For when you drinking and you smoking?
Yeah. So you can pop the cap on your beer, and then light your cigarette, and then pop a cap in someone else.
I'm genuinely shocked. Like, it's also branded for DC. This is like fucking hashtag DC-based podcast.
I'm just saying.
Hashtag two best friends trying their damnedest not to ghost on y'all.
True. So
We just trying to stay alive this week, y'all.
I'm going to tell you what. I have seen death. And I have shook hands with him. I have laid with him.
I've laid with him.
And he's a horrible lover.
Girl.
So you guys will have to forgive me. I have been not feeling well. As you could probably tell by my voice, it might work actually for the episode. Who knows? You can get that slow, raspy voice. You might be into it. Or not.
I think they'll probably be into it.
Maybe. We'll see.
It's all good. You got this.
That haunt's just kicked our ass.
Shocktober?
Yeah.
It really has.
I've enjoyed it, though. I will have to say that. Like, I've had a really good time. I've been able to bring a bunch of people to their fucking knees.
Mm-hmm. I usually send people crawling over other people. Like, they go up. Because I'm little. They got to go up to get away from me. Like a panther, you got to climb a tree.
You cause them to lose control over their bodily functions.
Yeah, it's true. They do. Yep.
And they just see me and they drop it. They drop to their knees like they're in church, honey. Oh no.
Your fucking horse ass.
Yeah, I know. I got this horse ass voice from playing the chef. I was a chef for my first haunted role, and I brought you dinner. I thought it was perfect. I was the chef was me.
Or maybe you were dinner.
No.
Your guests were dinner?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That made no sense. Dinner. You said you were dinner.
You know, I just need to say I'm not here to make sense. I'm just here, period. For you, out of love for you. That's why.
I'm just here.
I mean, you guys as listeners, not love for Kenny. I mean, love for Kenny, too.
What? What the fuck?
I just mean, I'm here with you, and that's what you got this week. It's been a rough one. It's been an up and down week. Man, I hope everybody else is doing great. You just wrote down your fucking timestamp.
Yeah.
God, I wish you could do that with my life.
I'm just writing down the timestamp.
I really wish you could just jot down timestamps in my fucking life and just cut out parts that are not desirable. God bless. That would be beautiful to know that there was a chubby man with a beard, a husky with a beard in heaven,
bitch.
And a book.
Husky.
And a book, just like writing down the moments in my life. I do some stupid shit.
Well,
and he's like, he cuts the eyes at me and writes it down.
2018 at 7:38 p.m. Gonna just cut that right out.
Yeah, we're just gonna cut that one and we will pick back up tomorrow morning.
We'll try again. We'll just do some copy and paste and some cut.
It's gonna be all good.
Yep. I believe we have an invocation this evening.
We do. We have
yet another person.
Yet another motherfucker. Up on this bus.
Has decided to leave some coin on that dresser.
Honey.
Our dresser's got so many coins now.
We need another dresser to put beside the dresser.
Yeah.
So tonight we are welcoming a very special new member of our cannibal cult, and her name is Amanda Farley. So, Amanda, we want to send you all of the good vibes, and we want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for supporting us and loving us and listening to us and engaging with us on the Facebook group. So we will light your candle at the top of this episode. It will burn with us throughout the episode and forever in our haunted hearts.
In our dark, haunted hearts. And that one had a bit of an extra pop and crackle to it.
It did.
All right.
It was a little feisty.
Yes, it
Much
was.
like Amanda. Much like my girl.
Yes. So
thank you and welcome.
Welcome to the family.
We're happy you're here.
Pull up a chair.
We got room for you.
Yes. At our always forever growing table of Patreon members. We cannot do this without you.
Girl, I hope it's forever growing.
Forever, the table is
optimistic.
forever growing. Yes, put it out.
I was
into
thinking
the
more like a
universe.
forever growing Manson bus of Patreon members, like a Manson family bus style.
Well, you're on the Manson
Desert
bus.
living.
They're coming to sit down at my spooky Halloween table for Halloween supper. Either way,
We let them pick.
which one do you want?
Which
Do you
one
want to join the Manson
bus? Do you
bus?
love mommy or do you love daddy?
Do you
Pick
want
one.
Do you want to join some smelly cult
Hey,
and drive?
they weren't that smelly. I mean, they smelled like
in a
drugs
bus?
all the time, but
I
they
mean,
were, yeah.
Well, or would you rather sit at an immaculately decorated, spooky Halloween table? I'm just saying.
I mean, some of those RVs have like pull-out tables, so we could make it the best of both worlds. I believe in you. I believe that you could like Pinterest, like HGTV, Halloween level an RV for us to live in.
Oh, fuck yeah. A black and orange RV. We just travel the world.
Fuck yeah, we just
Or
gonna
not
drive
the world, but the
the
travel
world.
the country.
I mean, we could travel the world if we had a ship also.
Travel the world. We drive straight into the ocean.
Just straight in. Woo! That's this episode today.
Just go
man.
just drive onto the pier,
God.
right off, and just crash right into the ocean.
Just drive till it's October, man.
It's like the scene is like we're all like having a good time and it's all fun in our spooky little van and it's cute and everything, and there's like we stop at little cute little spooky roadside attractions. We're all like eating ice cream from like a little hole in the wall stand, and there's like fun music playing, and then you and I just look at each other and fucking Thelma and Louise style just fucking drive off the fucking pier.
I feel like that's what happened this week as we are late gathering together because we're dying.
Yeah, I mean,
That was a little bit you this week. I was worried about you.
yeah. Again, like I said, I have seen death. It's kind of like, all right. So this is
I
an
have seen
excellent
death,
segue.
and I told him I have a podcast to record.
Yes. I mean, essentially. No, it's kind of like that. This is a perfect segue, by the way. I just need you to listen to this masterful.
All right.
Segue.
I'm glad that you told me that we're segueing so I can get ready for it.
Yes. Like Dr. Loomis says in Halloween, evil has come to your town. No, death has come to your town is
God
what he
damn.
says.
You done misquoted.
No, he says death has come
Death
to your
has
town.
come to your town. He says
That's
that he
me.
looked evil in the eyes and saw nothing.
Yeah, well, that's a separate quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Those are the
evil
two.
in the
Those
eyes.
are the two you're
Death has
mixing up.
come to your little town,
Death
sheriff.
has come to your larynx.
And that's what happened. Dr. Loomis came up and he says, death has come to your voice and your body.
Death has come to your lungs.
And so that leads us into our topic of the week, because guess what, motherfuckers? It's about Michael.
It finally is about Michael.
Michael. Michael?
Michael.
Michael.
Michael. Michael.
Michael. That was the boogeyman.
I'm just going to say, unpopular opinion, I probably would have killed Judith Myers, too, because that bitch was annoying. I know we're supposed to love her.
I mean, yeah, she was... What, did you not like the way she was brushing her hair?
No, she was just very, like... I don't know. When she started... I guess if he hadn't stabbed her the first time. But you know what I mean? Like, if you were, like, a little bit, like, uncommitted and you stabbed her the first time and then she started screaming like that, you got to make her stop. Like, it's really annoying.
Michael! I can't even do it because of my voice.
Michael! Yeah, I can't do it because I'm just not that level of, like, fucking...
Shrill?
Twit. Yeah.
No, you can be pretty shrill.
I don't like to I don't like to think of it as being shrill. I can be rather,
Bette Midler-esque?
Yeah, but I don't call that shrill, because she's very, like, strong and, like, big and imposing. You know what I mean? Shrill is, like, waif-like and high, like Judith Myers. You know what I mean?
Oh, I thought it meant like I thought that was something to do with the voice.
I mean, I think it is, but I think the connotation with shrill is, like, small.
Oh, well, fuck me then. Just, all right, let me see.
Let's just write that one down as well. The whole episode is edited out and, like, literally it gets released. And it's just like, well, hello. And then it cuts straight to stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
That's it.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, my God.
No.
It's going to get there.
So, as you all have, obviously, I mean, unless you've lived under a fucking rock, you know that the new Halloween movie was just recently released. And your witch mother in Midnight Werewolf caught that shit the moment it came out.
For real. They dropped it and we caught it.
Yeah. Exactly.
She didn't even hit the ground.
So, what we thought we would do for this week's episode is sort of take a look back at all of the Halloweens, sort of go through them, talk about them, look at the evolution of Michael Myers. We'll probably talk about some of the different storylines, and then at the end, we'll save the best for last. We will give you our thoughts and our review on the new Halloween.
Yes. So we're saving that part for last specifically for those of you who haven't seen it yet. You got to see it. It's really good. But we wanted to give you guys...
that's our review as it goes at the end.
No, I'm just saying... I mean, of course they fucking know we liked it. We, like, freaking jizzed all over social media all week about it.
I fucking did.
Yeah. But, yeah, we're going to talk about all of the... So there will be no spoilers in the first bit of the episode. And before we get into talking about the new Halloween, we will let you know. We will play a tone of some kind, which may be me just saying tone. But we'll let you know before we start talking about that shit so you can tune the fuck out.
Yes. So, let's start with the original, the baddest, the best.
Yes.
Halloween.
All of the above.
1978.
My favorite.
Oh, of course.
Obs.
Definitely a favorite. Obviously, unless you're a fucking idiot, you know that was...
I'm not going to let you do this to our listeners the entire time.
No, unless you're a fucking idiot,
I'm not going to let you
You know
them.
that was directed by John Carpenter. Right? And it's Deborah Hill. I didn't realize this, though, that was his girlfriend.
Yeah. They were banging. What? They were. Yeah, they were smashing. They were a thing.
Yeah. She actually wrote most of the female dialogue for the movie, which is pretty interesting. So she is the reason why you have PJ Souls saying totally all the time.
Totally. I bet PJ Souls just like fucking went home after that shoot and was like, God damn. Like, I bet it annoyed all of us, but I'm sure that it annoyed her as well.
Oh, totally.
She was probably like, fuck.
Yeah. I've met PJ Souls. She's a an amazing person. She's so friendly. She signed my Michael Myers mask with Totally.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so she's awesome. I actually like her. She has one of my favorite deaths.
Oh, yeah.
In the original Halloween.
That was a good one.
Naked with fucking telephone cord wrapped around the neck.
True. You know, my favorite is the car death, though, where she goes cross-eyed right before she dies.
Oh yeah, Annie.
I can only hope.
That one's that one's actually my favorite.
Is it?
Yeah, that one is actually my favorite.
Or is it just my favorite, and now you're stealing it?
No, I have always said that one was my favorite, and now you have, so you're stealing mine.
I've always liked her because she looks like my mom did when she was that age, and so, you know.
Yeah, she...
it doesn't have to be weird. She died, but it doesn't have to be weird. Like, she went all cross-eyed. My mom's fine, though.
It's the theme of this entire podcast. It doesn't have to be weird.
It doesn't have to be. It really doesn't.
Yeah, so if you did not know, it took them exactly 10 days to write the screenplay for Halloween. And it was shot...
And the shoot was fast, too.
Yeah, it was shot in the spring of 1978 over a period of only 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. In Southern California, so no fall. They had to make that shit up.
They did. They brought a bunch of leaves in.
That's how you know that shit was real. Or
because they made it up?
Because they made it up.
That's how you know it was real, because it was all bussed in from other places.
Exactly.
Actually, if you watch the movie, near the beginning, where Laurie's like walking around through Haddonfield, through the suburbs, you can actually see palm trees in the distance. If you watch, like, if you look into the distance, you can see palm trees on the road. It's awesome.
With leaves everywhere.
Right. There's like all these fucking oak and maple leaves, and then there's like a palm tree. Oh.
No, they had to do what they had to do to make it work, and that's what I appreciate about it.
Because you can't just go to like Illinois and shoot.
No, because they shot it in the spring, so even if they went to Illinois, it would still be springy. So I guess they had to go somewhere where there were no trees.
Always. Except the palms.
Where there were no trees but palms.
If you haven't Googled why you shouldn't put Christmas lights on palm trees, go ahead and Google that. It's great.
All right. So anyway, it grossed $47 million at the box office and $70 million total with international sales. And Deborah Hill was quoted as saying, "The idea was that you couldn't kill evil, and that was how we came about the story. We went back to the old idea of Samhain, that Halloween was the night where all the souls are let out to wreak havoc on the living, and then came up with the story about the most evil kid who had ever lived. And when John came up with this fable of a town with a dark secret of someone who once lived there, and now that evil has come back, that's what made Halloween work." Would you be in agreement?
I would agree. But you know that I feel like what makes Halloween work is my girl, Jamie Lee.
Yeah, totally.
If you fucking say totally one more time in this episode, I swear to God. No, this was her feature debut with her fine ass. And for a while she had a really like awkward relationship with this movie, right?
She did.
She like... This was her, like, big debut, and it was obviously, like, very well received. And then she went on to have a very illustrious acting career, and I think for a long time she was somewhat, not uncomfortable with, but she was a little bit trying to escape the horror world. And she was trying not to be seen as Laurie Strode. So that's what... to me is so powerful, and seeing her come back for the new Halloween is because it's kind of like a really cool like bookend. Not saying her career is over, I hope it's not, but like it's very cool to see her kind of revisit her roots.
Yeah, for me it was kind of like a come to terms with like
right.
Or like being comfortable to be like, and I'm not saying that she ever was, like I'm not Jamie Lee, I don't know how she feels or what she thinks, but for me it would just sort of felt like, okay, this is my power. I have a power in this.
Right.
It's sort of like owning the role, owning the fact that she is iconic because of this role.
Right, because I think she was very much, and she said as much in interviews, that she was kind of at odds. Not that she wished anything, not that she wished the horror community ill will, but just that she was sort of at odds with being known for that.
Yeah, and she never attended any horror conventions.
Right.
She's only ever
done like one, right?
Attended one, yeah. And there's actually a documentary. I can't remember if it's
really
on Netflix or somewhere.
I thought it was on Netflix when we watched it. I don't know if it's still on there now. Do you know what it's called?
No, I don't remember. But there's a documentary on Jamie Lee Curtis on her first ever visit to a horror convention. And so she sort of goes into detail about all of this and why she has only ever done that one. So that's why it was so powerful when I saw her, you know, in the promos and all of this coming up for the new movie, because I was like, damn, like I didn't expect this to happen again.
No, because she had pretty much said as much that that would never happen.
Right.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the name of this documentary because it was really, really good. I remember you and I were crying. Oh, it's called The Night She Came Home.
Oh, yeah, The Night She Came Home.
Fucking, that's what I thought it was, but I didn't want to say it and be wrong. It was made in 2013, so not even that long ago. And it very much had a vibe of like, you know, that this was her one and only with the horror community, like reconnecting.
Yeah, I'd be interested
to see. And now here we are 5 years later.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if she starts doing them, especially after this movie. So, like, next year's horror conventions. I'd be interested to see.
I mean, that would be amazing.
I would hope so. So, yeah, this one, the first one is obviously iconic. It really sort of laid the ground for going into, like, 80s slasher. You really just honestly can't hold a candle to it. Like.
Now, is this the first time that we refresh my memory as to what, because all of them blend together for me, and this one's the one that's most important. So for me, this is like the beginning of horror. But I'm sure that, like, because I know our first final girl is the girl from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Marilyn?
So, yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Black Christmas all preceded Halloween, but Halloween is credited as like
the beginning of the slasher era,
right? Like, so you had these other films that were there, but Halloween like jump started the slash, or jump started, and I guess essentially sort of created the actual slasher genre. But some people would argue like Psycho started it,
right?
And that's fair.
Yeah,
that's a fair statement. But I think Halloween really just sort of pushed it into the forefront and created that genre itself.
Right.
So Psycho
definitely helped to shape it a lot.
Yeah.
Psycho is a very specific story that is specific to Norman Bates, right? Like it's very centered on him. Whereas I think Halloween is more like a parable or a fable in that it's so generalized. They really do leave it very open. They distinguish the characters, but they leave it open so that you can put yourself in the story. And you can put on, I think that's what makes Michael so scary, is because they do leave him so open that you kind of put whatever your worst fears are on him. You know what I mean? Right. They don't explain a backstory. They don't explain why he kills Judith. They don't explain why he then wants to kill everybody else. And I think that's what makes the first one so powerful.
Yeah.
I think the further we go, there became, and maybe this can kind of segue into talking about some of the other films, there became this strain of trying to explain why Michael does what he does. And to me, that has always been like the Achilles heel of all of the sequels. Not so much the second one, because the second one's pretty good, but all the sequels after that point, I think there's been a huge flaw with them trying to explain to you why Michael is doing what he's doing, instead of just letting it be
Right.
unknown.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially that's the formula of how he was created.
Right.
I mean, it was originally titled The Babysitter Murders, and so and it was just supposed to be about the Shape who,
Right.
killed, babysitters on, and it wasn't even supposed to be around Halloween.
Right.
It was John and Deborah who first said, okay, we'll do this, we'll write the script, but actually, you know what, let's set it on Halloween. Mm-hmm. And so that's that's the formula of what he is supposed to be about. And while Halloween 2 is a great sequel, it started, I believe Halloween 2, in my personal opinion, started the downfall of Michael.
Yeah.
Because that is when they first introduced him as his sister.
Right.
Introduced Jamie as his sister.
Yeah.
So it was at that pivotal moment that they started to explain why.
Yeah, I didn't like that was kind of looped in. But I still think the second one, I shelter from a lot of my criticism of a lot of the later films, just because, I don't know, it still feels very authentic. About half of that movie's pretty good.
Yeah.
But once we start getting into like the deep psychoanalysis of him being, them being related and him wanting to destroy her because of that, it just kind of I get what you're saying about it starting the downfall.
Yeah. So
I kind of feel the same.
Halloween 2 was actually directed by Rick Rosenthal. It was not John Carpenter. Mm-hmm. And so he really sought out to create a continuation of the first Halloween. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of senses, he claimed that this wasn't really his film. Because he was trying to mimic what John had, already laid the ground for. And Halloween 2 came out in 1981. What I found was really funny. So that was
like 6 years after.
No. 3 years.
3 years after, sorry.
Yeah, 3 years.
81 minus 78 is only 3, turns out.
What I found was really funny. So while John Carpenter did not direct the second Halloween, John and Deborah both still wrote the story for it in the screenplay. Mm-hmm. And they're quoted as saying that it mainly dealt with, their writing mainly dealt with a lot of beer, sitting in front of a typewriter saying, what the fuck am I doing? I don't know.
That's kind of like making this podcast.
That's what I thought too.
You know what I mean?
I was like, damn.
It's a lot like making this.
Are we John and Deborah?
If only.
In the podcast world?
If only we fucking were. I'm so excited to talk about the podcast world on this episode. You don't even know. But I can't yet.
Another interesting tidbit about this is that when it was originally shot, Rick tried not to go too gory with it. Mm-hmm. But John came in and made the decision to include more gore and nudity. And Rick sort of had he took issue with that. And the reasoning was that since the release of Halloween in that 3-year time span, horror movies had sort of changed, and that there was inflation involved in terms of violence and gore and what you saw on screen, to the point that John felt like that he was in a box and he could not do the same thing that Halloween had been doing.
Because Halloween sort of set that bar.
Yeah.
And then in the 3 years since that movie, it had the bar had been raised. And so you kind of had to...
Yeah, and so John thought that, the final, or what he saw would be too tame for the slasher audience, since we now had a slasher audience. Mm-hmm. And so he refilmed several death scenes with a little more gore. And this was also the first film where they featured the song Mr. Sandman by the Chordettes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's the first time it was ever featured?
Yeah. Yeah, which is really interesting because it's such an odd song, and every time I hear it, I think of Michael, and I'm like, I just never really understood what
it's about.
Yeah, well, no, I mean I understand it's like Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, so it's like bringing this person their dream man. Mm-hmm. So
I mean, for me, that's Michael. It makes perfect sense. It's just logic.
Yeah, I know, but that's for us. So I'm just interesting to know, like, back then, like, why. But maybe they didn't think that it would catch on as much as it did. But for me, like, it's just iconic with Michael.
Yeah, I think what they were going for is kind of like because that song specifically has a lot of musical connection with the music of the 50s and 60s that was very like, bum, 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 bum. Like, everything is fine, right? And you're like just kind of chilling, and they're taking that vibe and injecting it into the midst of like this super violent, super gruesome horror movie, which I think is very cool. It's very, the two juxtaposed are very different. And I think that creates its own sense of making the viewer uncomfortable or shattering expectations. Similarly to the design of Michael's mask, which of course most people, obviously all of you guys probably know, is based off of Captain Kirk's face, William Shatner's face, who was big at the time from being on Star Trek, and so everybody kind of knew that face. And so to have it redefined in a way that is like all white and kind of like some of the features are skewed a little bit because it's a plastic mask is kind of, there's an element of uncanny valley there. And I think that's sort of what they were looking for in including that Sandman song, that same kind of vague familiarity, but it's just twisted enough that it's like suddenly now the familiar has become scary.
And then you have sick fucks like us who just look at it as Michael as our dream man.
Yeah, and then it's just, or it could just be that he's bae.
Yeah. Speaking of masks, they only paid like $1 and like 50 cents for that mask or something cheap like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was so insane to even think about. Also, Nick Castle only got paid like $25 a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Donald
Pleasance
Pleasance
he's making royalties AF now.
I mean, yeah, but like, fuck. Jamie Lee Curtis got like $8,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Donald Pleasance, I think, got $20,000.
Okay.
Because he was Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
Jamie got $8,000, but then you've got Michael, the fucking star of the show, really, or one of them.
Yeah.
And he gets $25 a day.
They were like, "Look, motherfucker, we just need somebody to put the suit on and walk around. I mean, you're already walking around."
I mean, that's essentially how it was.
Yeah, for sure.
But coming back into Halloween 2, did you know that there was actually a murder incident connected to Halloween 2?
Mm-mm.
Yes.
No,
so
I did not.
There was an incident with minor connections to the film that heightened attitudes about the potent effects of media violence on young people. On December 7th, 1982, Richard Boyer of El Monte, California, murdered France and Eileen Harbitz, an elderly couple in Fullerton, California, which led to the trial People versus Boyer in 1989. The couple were stabbed 43 times by Boyer. And according to the trial transcript, Boyer's defense was that he suffered from hallucinations in the Harbitz residence brought on by the movie Halloween 2, which the defendant had seen under the influence of PCP, marijuana, and alcohol. And the film was played for the jury, and a psychopharmacologist pointed out various similarities between its scenes and the visions the defendant described. So Boyer was found guilty and sentenced to death, and the incident became known as the Halloween 2 murders, which was something that I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That's very interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, murder case. Okay, stepping on my toes.
All right, little tiny little murder minute.
All right, little murder in a minute.
Murder in a minute. Yes. So...
I love how sad your yes is. Yes. Please, God, stay alive.
Stay alive. At least
come
to the
through
end of this
life.
episode. Come through life. Oh, my God. Hold on, I actually have a fan. Maybe I can pop it.
There you go.
Come through
it's
life.
It's probably just going to sound like a fart.
Probably. A fart.
A fart.
You got real Jersey just then. A fart.
A fart.
So... And now we get into Halloween 3.
Can we just skip?
No. So here's the thing. I fucking love Halloween 3 by itself. By itself, it is a phenomenal film, but people fucking hated it. Why did they hate it? Because for some reason, they decided not to put fucking Michael Myers in it.
Right, because it had nothing to fucking do with Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Literally nothing to do with it.
So,
do you know how mad? Do you know? Now, you guys have had to put up with me for the past 6 to 8 to 9 to however many fucking months. Maybe my whole life. And my love of Michael Myers and learning that we were going to get a new Halloween movie and how excited we were for the new Halloween movie and the trailer release for the new Halloween movie. I'm just going to say, put me back in 1982 and tell me that I'm getting a new Halloween movie. And then I walk my ass to the theater and I sit down and I pay my money and I get my popcorns and there's no Michael Myers in it. Girl.
Well,
you would hate to be that movie theater manager.
Well, he was in it, but he was just in like a side thing and like he was like on a TV screen in a bar.
Girl, no.
So
doesn't count.
Yeah. Halloween 3 is actually one of my favorite Halloweens because it stands by itself. So it was written directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who was the creative director for the first Halloween. Mm-hmm. And again, it's the only entry in the franchise that does not feature Michael Myers. So what happened is that they believed that John, and when I say they, I mean John and Deborah, they believed that they could create sort of like an anthology series that just centered around the night of Halloween, so that every time they could just create a different Halloween story.
Kind of like Creepshow?
Creepshow, Trick or Treat. That's kind of the vein of where they originally wanted to take it.
Yeah. Which is a cool vein.
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool thing and it's a cool idea, but here's the thing. Like...
No, but you have Michael Myers. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like if you're at a fight and you have a gun, but you just decide that you're going to use paper clips instead. Like, you just
they
use
had already...
gun.
They had already... like, had a second one with him in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
you
not
established
like they made,
a pattern.
Yeah, it's not like they made Halloween 1 and then did, the story for Halloween 3.
Yeah.
They did Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and then this. So people fucking hated it, but it's grown on people. It has a cult following. I'm a member of that cult. I absolutely love it. This is actually one of the few... And I like it because it does science fiction in a way that I like.
Yeah.
Because you get that like technology, science fiction-y aspect of it, because you've got the, they're like robot androids that murder people that work for the evil Irish guy. And then you've got the Celtic influence into it too. So you've got like the Celtic / science fiction part of it. And I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
I like it because it's weird and it's so. I like movies like that anyway. That are very grotesque, that are very like sort of weirdly positioned, and it does give me a similar vibe to like Creepshow, and I like that type of feeling. But I just needed it to be a different franchise. I needed it to be its own thing. I needed it to start its own thing. I needed it to not in any way be connected to Michael. And the fact that it was just kind of tanked it. If it had been its own thing, it would have been amazing on its own. But connecting it to a franchise that was already so iconic just immediately signed it up for...
Oh, totally. I mean, they did bring some of the actors back. So, Nancy Kyes, who actually goes by the stage name as Nancy Loomis, she played Annie Brackett in the first one. So she played Chalice's ex-wife, Linda. By the way, did you know she was actually born in Falls Church?
Really?
The actress who played Annie Brackett.
No.
Yeah. She was born in Falls Church, by the way.
Annie Brackett being my cross-eyed favorite death, looking like my mama.
Yep. And then also...
I didn't realize she was in Halloween 3.
Yeah, she is. She's in Halloween 3, and actually also Jamie Lee Curtis has a voice credit as well.
I did know that.
Yeah, for one of the telephone operators.
Yeah.
And also Dick Warlock, who played Michael in the second film, was one of the android assassins as well. So they brought some people back, but it just did not work. It flopped. But understandable. I'd be pissed as hell too.
Yeah. It wasn't, if it had been its own thing, it would have been amazing. But being connected to Michael,
it just paled. I mean, you have fucking Michael right now. Like, you've created this badass motherfucker.
Right. Just call it something else. Just call it, like, November 1st.
Just call it Season of the Witch.
Or Season of the Witch. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Even though witches weren't really that,
Also, a lot of people had issue because they're like, how did this motherfucker get a big, huge piece of Stonehenge and, shipped over?
Right.
To the middle of nowhere?
It was really Season of the Druid, you know?
Right.
Like, not really.
Yeah. And also, what was your plan, dude? You kill all the kids on Halloween night? They were all wearing your mask. Sure wouldn't take long for fucking authorities to figure that one out.
For real.
What was your backup plan, dude?
I'm gonna tell you who would not have been affected by that. The Haunted Heart, because we do what? Make our own costumes.
Exactly.
And getting trapped up in nobody else's mask, and getting taken over by it.
No, I mean, look at it. You've got might
get trapped in my mask because I've super glued it to my face because it wouldn't stick.
Amen. I think Goosebumps, the haunted mask.
Yeah.
She went out and bought a mask. Look what happened.
No. Don't do it.
Make your own shit.
Melt down that plastic.
Plastic.
That plastic casket, girl.
Plastic casket, honey. Hashtag plastic casket.
Don't do it. No, we can't make that go viral. No. Plastic caskets would be very bad for our environment. We need caskets made of wood.
True. Or just burn yourself.
Or, cremation, as others call it. Just burn yourself.
Just burn yourself. Right. So they realized that was a huge, huge fuck up. And so in 1988, they brought Michael back for Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
Can we just say, most of these, the first Halloween movie is my favorite. Most of these movies that were happening in the interim of the 80s are not my favorites. However, how amazing would it have been to live in an environment where you get a new fucking Halloween movie every 2 years? Brand fucking new. We wouldn't have done shit else with our lives.
Nope. Would not. Absolutely would not. So Halloween 4 actually introduces, well, I guess at the time it didn't, but they start out with, so Halloween 4 is about Jamie Lee's daughter. And Jamie Lee supposedly died in a car wreck. And so Michael is now after his niece as opposed to his sister. So in Halloween 4, 1988, that was directed by Dwight H. Little and written by Alan B. McElroy. And at this point, John and Deborah had signed away all of the rights to Mustafa Akkad because Mustafa wanted to bring Michael back into the picture as a flesh and blood character. John and Deborah did not. So they were at a disagreement, and so John and Deborah signed away all of their rights. So it was from at this point on that they had
nothing to do with it. Yeah.
With the series.
Yeah.
We were introduced to a great little actress by the name of Danielle Harris. Mm-hmm. Love her. She is so cute in this series because it's 4, 5, and 6. Mm-hmm. And I just can't get enough of her. I think she's absolutely adorable.
Cute. What's she doing now? She's still with us? What's going on with her?
Yeah, no, she was in...
Well, she still has a website, danielleharris.org.
Oh, hell yeah. No, she was in...
Please don't be an exotic dancer.
No, she was in one of the... She was in the Rob Zombie Halloween remake, actually.
Oh.
Which will... Yeah, that's coming. Yes. So, in Halloween 4, you had George P. Wilbur, who was cast as Michael Myers. George P. Wilbur.
God, what a name.
He had to wear hockey pads under the costume to make himself look more physically
imposing. You know who didn't have to do that? Nick Castle. Zaddy
Nicky.
Nicky.
Yeah, and he was often filmed in mirror reflections or off-center so that the audience could witness him in pieces rather than having an encompassing view.
Probably because he was a little shrimpish in that encompassing view.
How awkward would that be?
We're just going to show parts of you.
We're just going to film you from the mirror.
You know what? That's kind of my Instagram strategy.
But you can't rip
show you parts.
You can't rip on him. He was sweet, though. He would often... he would make sure that Danielle wasn't too scared by regularly taking off his mask.
Oh.
And just making sure that she knew that he wasn't going to actually murder her.
Well, that's sweet.
It's nice. But all right, so my issue, though, is these masks for 4, 5, and 6 were god-awful.
Girl.
No, it was god-awful.
How does a mask get fat, girl?
I'm just saying...
How does a mask get fat?
So they thought that they could reuse the original Captain Kirk mask.
Yeah.
But it was long gone at that point.
Yeah.
And so they purchased a new one from a local costume shop. The producers wanted to, they had the audacity to do this shit. The producers wanted to test and see what it would look like without the edits to the mask. So just your basic fucking Captain Kirk mask.
Oh, okay.
Without painting it white.
But also, that's just Captain Kirk.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just wearing like a weird Shatner skin there.
Yep. So they filmed it, realized that was a fucking dumbass decision.
How much did they film like that?
They filmed a lot of it.
The whole fucking many scenes? Because I feel like it would take one scene. I feel like it would take literally you putting the mask over your face, looking like shit, and then me being like, no, we need to
No, they had to go back and reshoot several scenes. Okay, and there's actually a blooper because there's one scene when Dr. Loomis is thrown through a glass door that Michael comes up behind him, and you can see the unaltered face and blonde hair of Michael.
Great. Good.
I didn't realize that, so I'm actually going to have to go back and check that and see if I can find it.
I didn't know that either.
But that is an egregious error.
Well, I had heard that there was a rumor that you saw his face, but I thought it was just a rumor. I didn't realize that it was tragic.
Yeah, no.
Oh, no.
So here is also where we start to continue the storyline of trying to figure out what Michael Myers is about.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 4. He's chasing his fucking niece. And then at the end of it, she's like standing at the top of the stairs, and she's in her clown costume, and has stabbed this lady who was not her foster mom, I can't remember exactly, has stabbed her with a pair of scissors in the same vein as when Michael was a little one in a little clown mask. Right. So they tried to mirror that, like
as when Michael was a little one.
Yeah. So they tried to mirror that a little bit, and that's sort of how that ended.
Yeah.
So it leaves you thinking, oh shit, like is she's now
the new Michael? Right.
Right. Is she the new Michael?
Right.
No.
No.
No, not at all. So then Halloween 5, 1989, year I was born. What's up? How you doing? 1989. You have The Revenge of Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
So this was directed by this guy named Dominique, and he was actually introduced to Mustafa Akkad by Deborah Hill. So Deborah Hill is what brought this guy who wrote or who directed The Revenge of Michael Myers to Mustafa. So she was the reason. So I guess that is like her like last influence on Halloween.
Right.
And again, it continues the storyline of Jamie Lloyd. And at this point, she's traumatized. And she's not speaking. She is just all kinds of fucked up from being almost murdered. And so this ends with Michael being incapacitated by Loomis and taken to a police station to await transport. Jamie Lloyd's fabulous line of "evil never dies" reflects the nature of Michael, and it's at this point that a strange man in black comes in and attacks the police station, killing all of the officers and releasing Michael once again. So that leads you into Halloween 6. The Curse of Michael Myers in 1995.
And at this point, he was cursed.
He was cursed. So Halloween 6. I hate and love this one. No, I'm gonna tell you what. No, I like this one. 4 and 5, meh. 6, I do like, even though it's
problematic.
Yeah. Because they really get into why he's doing what he's doing.
And that's why I don't like it.
But I like it because, A, we're introduced to Paul Rudd for the first time as Danny, as the grown-up version of Danny.
Yeah.
And it's also the final appearance of Donald Pleasance, because he died a little bit before this movie was released, and he was sick during the filming. So he filmed this while he was sick.
Right.
So it's dedicated to him.
Right.
So I like it for those aspects. It's also very, like, early 90s Halloween. There's lots of, like, vintage Halloween fall vibes going on in it, which I like. But they introduced the Curse of the Thorn. Yeah. Which is silly.
Right. And do you just want to give everybody a refresher on the Curse of the Thorn, just in case?
Yeah, I mean,
we are in the fucking weeds now.
Yeah, so the Curse of the fucking Thorn, that was like this. It's sort of like this druid cult like thing where they have like a sacrifice, or like a kid is sacrificed to carry this curse to where they're given immortality but are driven to kill their next of kin. And it's supposed to be like about blood sacrifices and all that good shit. You know, let's cause all this havoc so we can have a good year of corn. So Halloween 6 starts. You have a little bit older Jamie Lloyd, and she's been taken by this cult. They have done impregnated her. They've got Michael, and yeah, so it's all kinds of weird. They release her.
This one is the craziest one. It's just very all over the map. I do recommend watching it. It is a very fun watch, but you have to kind of take you have to take all of your dignity in the franchise and just kind of give it a vacation. Give it a couple hours off. Set it aside. Don't go in with any pride, because there's no pride to be found here. There is no dignity in this movie. However, it's fun. Like, it
is fun. It's fun. They actually had...
Everybody loves a cult pregnancy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, there were... So they reshot, actually. They actually reshot a couple of... they have a different ending to this that is actually kind of hard to find, if I'm not mistaken. So, in what is called the producer's cut, Kara, one of the characters, is to be used as a human sacrifice for Myers and awakens at Smith's Grove Sanitarium, because at this point it's revealed that Smith's Grove is like an undercover thing for this cult. Oh. Yeah. So she awakens on a concrete slab surrounded by the cult's followers, and she is ultimately saved by Tommy, who uses runes to stop Michael from pursuing them.
Girl.
Right. And so they escape with Jamie's newborn baby. And Jamie had died at this point. No. In the cut that you saw, she died at the beginning. And then I think they also filmed her living more towards the end, but they didn't use it. But they escape with her newborn baby. And it's implied by Kara in the film that the baby is a product of incest between Jamie and Michael. Ugh. Later, after telling the others he has got a little business to attend to, Loomis walks back into the sanitarium to find a seemingly defeated Michael lying on the floor of the main hallway. Upon removing the mask, Loomis finds Dr. Wynn, who was forced by Michael to switch outfits so he could escape. With his dying breath, Wynn grabs Loomis's hand and says, "It's your game now, Dr. Loomis." And after Wynn dies, the thorn symbol appears on Loomis's wrist, realizing now that Loomis himself is now to act as the leader of the cult. He screams in terror and despair, and this scream is heard as ambient noise in the final frame of the theatrical cut. Because in the theatrical cut, you just see him going back, and then you just hear Dr. Loomis screaming, and you never really know why. So they had filmed all of that and then cut it, thankfully. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, damn. So.
That's interesting. I want to see that cut now.
I do too. I wonder, I haven't watched, I may have it. I don't know.
As like a bonus feature?
Yeah, because I bought the box set last year, so I wonder if it has that bonus feature on there. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at it. And then, of course, my second favorite Halloween H2O.
H2O.
So this is, and I've mentioned this numerous times before when we've talked horror movies, but Halloween H2O in 1998 is probably it's in my top.
Mm-hmm. It's in your top.
It's in my top.
It's in your top.
It's in my top.
The mask is still terrible.
I love the mask. I think that I love the mask.
No.
I don't mind the mask, actually.
I don't like the mask from it. But everything else is golden.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Then fucking...
So this is when you actually have the first...
chains, her aggression, her unchecked alcoholism.
Right. Functioning alcoholic.
You know, functioning being the key word. Optimism, glass is half full of vodka.
Yeah. So this was our first actual retcon for the series in which we completely eliminate the storylines of 4, 5, and 6, thankfully. And Jamie Lee reprises her role as Laurie Strode alongside her mother, Janet Leigh, which was really cool.
Yes.
And actually, John Carpenter was originally slated to return as director because Jamie Lee wanted to bring back the original team. However, John wanted a 3-part deal with Dimension Films, which was declined. So he said, well, fuck you.
He wanted a 3-part deal with him and Deborah? Or him and...
No, he wanted a 3-part deal with, like, 3 movies.
Oh, he wanted 3 movies.
Yeah.
Okay. And they said...
They said no.
Maybe not.
So he declined.
Maybe H2O.
Oh, and the actual, the original working title was Halloween 7, The Revenge of Laurie Strode.
Oh.
Which is kind of cool, but also kind of cheesy.
It is. It is. I like H2O.
I do too. I mean, you've got that 90s vibe. It's like 90s punk goth almost. You've got Creed. You've got...
Fuck yes, Creed. Fuck
Jamie
yes,
Lee.
pencil thin eyebrows. Fuck yeah.
You've got like schoolgirl uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got fucking LL Cool J.
You do, unfortunately, have LL Cool J.
He was awesome.
He did a great job.
I loved it.
He did a great job. Did you know that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in that movie?
Oh, yes. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And also that girl. Who's the other girl? She played Marilyn Monroe. I can't think of her name. That girl.
She was with Michelle Williams.
Yeah, Michelle Williams.
She's the one who had the pencil-thin brows that I was talking about. That one.
Yeah. H2O was a huge success at the time. And it was one of the highest grossing Halloween films with a return of about like $55 million. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you also had... Because it's sort of like this year's Halloween, but in 1998.
That was great. That was a great description.
No, but I mean, seriously, though.
It's sort of like this year's Halloween. No, I get what you're trying to say. Like, the original film came out in 1978. You've had 20 years. The dynasty has sort of been built up at that point. So in 98, when people kind of revisit it, it has that, like, sacred sort of vibe, somewhat.
Jamie Lee comes back.
And Jamie Lee comes back.
So there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah. There's a lot of build-up.
Yeah, but God, her performance is just so great in that movie.
Yes.
Yes. And so then that leads into Halloween Resurrection, which came up in 2002, which was directed by Rick Rosenthal, who did Halloween 2.
Yes.
So they were left with a bit of a dilemma. So when Jamie Lee Curtis wanted to end the series at Halloween H2O, Mustafa Akkad had a clause that legally would not allow the writers to kill Michael Myers. So according...
As it should be.
Yeah. According to the Blu-ray released by Scream Factory, Curtis almost left the project just weeks before filming until Kevin Williamson came up with the paramedic storyline and presented it to Akkad. Curtis finally agreed to be a part of the film under the condition that no footage hinting towards a sequel would be presented by the film, and that the audience would believe that Michael was dead until the inevitable sequel was announced. So, yes. Halloween Resurrection, not that great. It's kind of stupid. It's one of my least favorites. You've got they introduced a lot of technology because it's 2002.
Yeah.
So they've got their fucking sidekicks or whatever you want to fucking call it.
The fucking Motorola Razr phones.
I see. They've got the little fucking instant chats.
Yeah.
And that's what they use to help the girl with, to escape Michael.
Right.
It's very like that Fear Factor-esque storyline back then. So they took a lot of modern influences with it at the time, and it just, it's not one of my favorites. And I think it was they received moderate reviews. So... And plus, you fucking killed Jamie Lee Curtis at the beginning. Fuck you, motherfucker.
Yeah. No.
Fuck you. No. Bye.
It does not deserve a beginning of the credits death.
I will give them... I did love some Tyra Banks in that movie.
You just love Tyra Banks, though, bitch.
I do, but I love Tyra Banks. And you have Busta Rhymes, who with his famous line, "Trick or treat, motherfucker."
That was a good line.
When he fucking blew up Michael Myers at the end.
That was a good line.
It had a couple of good moments, but overall,
I do YouTube
favorite.
that from time to time.
So, and then you have the so that was that, 2007. You had Trash.
Hey, we're trash.
And also, again, in 2009, you had more Trash. Listen, and I'm going to tell you what. I love me some Rob Zombie. I do. I like his music. And I love every other film that he does, most of them. But his, white trash grindhouse filter on Michael.
Yeah. Just doesn't work.
No.
It just doesn't work.
Not at all.
I think it could work. I think it could be scary. I think it could be compelling, but it's a different character, and that's the problem that I have. It could be... I don't think that those movies in themselves are... I don't think those movies in themselves are bad. I just think that's not Michael. It's Michael's very mischaracterized, and because of that, that is why I can't watch them. I think in themselves, had it been a totally different character, had it been a totally different killer with a totally different profile, I would understand. I would be down with those movies potentially, because I do like that grindhouse vibe.
I love it. House of a Thousand Corpses is one of my favorite movies.
Right.
And I absolutely love it.
Halloween.
Devil's Rejects, I'm all about it. 31, love it. I mean, I love literally, and I don't even care that he uses the same formula and hires his wife for every single role.
I mean,
that's sweet. I love it.
Do what works.
I love it. Do what works.
So
Sherry Moon Zombie, brilliant. I could watch her in every fucking Rob Zombie movie that he makes from now until the end of time. But it just didn't work for me. He sought out to sort of give that psychological background on why serial killers, do what they do.
Right.
And the acting, especially from the young kid, is really great. Mm-hmm. It's not the acting that's the issue for me, on his part. It's just everything else.
Yeah, it's just very... I don't like that you... I've said this before in the podcast. In fact, I think somebody posted about it this week. But I don't like that Michael runs in those films.
Oh, yeah.
He should never run. He doesn't run. You run. That's your job. It's your line, is running away screaming, right? And his line is, to pimp walk after you. I've always said that. I will always say that. That's the way it should be. And I don't like how, I get that Rob Zombie was trying to, at this point, not dismantle, but I get that he was trying to redefine Michael as something that is not necessarily of mythic proportions. Something that isn't supernatural per se, but just raw human power and passion and what have you. I get that, but why? Like, you know what I mean? That's like me saying, I'm going to take this movie that is literally about dragons, then I'm going to be like, but what if, like, they weren't magical? Like, what if they weren't dragons?
I'm going to give you this podcast, and what if it wasn't trash? What if you actually had hosts that gave a fuck? No, I get what you're saying. You know?
It's just like, it's redefining the thing, but at some point you have to ask yourself, like, what's the point of redefining this? Or am I just making a different serial killer that has different motivations and a different way of functioning?
Yeah, I mean, if it had been a different serial killer, if it had just been a man or whatever, like, and not Michael Myers, it would have been amazing.
Yes, but Michael Myers is literally listed. If you Google mythical creatures, Michael Myers is on many lists of mythical creatures under the M's. Yeah. Check it out yourself. He's there.
Yeah, and then it was like in 2009 when he did Halloween 2, it was just like he just didn't give a fuck anymore. Like, the mask was all sorts of fucked up. He was wearing, like, if I'm not mistaken, he's wearing like a fucking raincoat, like a parka. Yeah. I'm like, what? I'm sorry, what? It's just like completely no trace of Michael left.
No. Which would have been fine if he was doing his own thing, but because we had the Halloween name attached to it, that's why I get so. And there are people who will, like, I'm sure that there are people who listen to our podcast who love the Rob Zombie remakes, who will fight us tooth and nail on it. But I can't, it's not that it's bad in itself. I do enjoy it in itself. It's just that it is not Michael. Yeah. Period.
No, it's not. And the one thing that I do kind of like is Rob Zombie's storyline was the same, like Michael and the sister Lori. But it was more about it was more about trying to find her because he obsessively loves her than it was about just trying to murder her. Because in the first reboot, she was a baby and he was being abused as a kid. And he had like a connection with his baby sister. Uh-huh. And then, you know, shit happens. She grows up and he's like fucked at this point. And so it becomes like this mental state where he's trying to get back to his baby sister. Now, would he have killed her? Probably. Yeah. But it was more of like that toxic, like...
It was like Homeward Bound, but also
just trying to find your way home, but just also like...
find your way home through the bodies of all these people.
Right, and he will fucking probably still murder you. Yeah. Like, and if you cry, he will want to keep you down in a basement, and that's where he'll want to keep you, his baby sister.
Maybe. I feel like he would live in the basement, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like he would be like, you can live upstairs, but you can't.
Do you think he's going to let you go up and get a pumpkin spice latte?
Do you think he's going to let you go to Chuck E. Cheese? No.
Is he going to let you go upstairs and get a pumpkin spice latte?
Do you have pumpkin spice money? He certainly doesn't work a job. No. So how are you supporting this household? How are you paying for this basement?
Here's this dead rat, bitch.
Eat it raw.
Enjoy.
I ain't got no kindling.
Listen.
We ain't cooking it.
I work hard to support this dirt floor
I murder
you're
hard
sleeping
to
on.
support this dirt floor.
Right.
I murder hard for this.
Yeah. I murdered a bitch so you could have her clothes.
You know what, though? That is certainly a level of service.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, would you do that for me? Would you?
No, I would just go to JCPenney.
You just go to JCPenney.
Yeah, like they did in the first one for Jamie Lee's wardrobe. They spent like less than $100
I believe it.
at the JCPenney.
I believe it. Especially 1970s money, because $100 is
You got JCPenney money? That's what they told. That's what they told Jamie Lee at the start of it. You got JCPenney money? She's like, yes, I do actually.
Yes, actually.
I've got $100. Oh, okay. Well, go buy your fucking wardrobe.
Well, we don't. So
I don't have no budget, bitch. Clothes. I have no budget.
I understand that. I feel that deeply in my soul.
Right. So, at this point, if you are still watching and you have not watched the new film.
If you're watching, baby, what are you watching?
We're talking about movies.
Because you're not watching us. I hope. That would be scary.
If you're still watching your porn, then I need you to shut it off.
If you were watching porn while listening to this show, baby, I'm just gonna say, maybe get checked out. Like maybe just go to the therapist and just make sure everything's on the up and up. Don't listen to porn and this show at the same time.
Why not?
Don't watch porn and mute it and then listen to the show over the porn.
Why not?
I just feel like that's just
don't
asking
judge people.
For some fucking bad shit to happen.
Why are you judging people? You're the sex positive person here, Katie.
I am, but I'm just saying, baby, I have always maintained that there is a very, very, very thin line between like being like all into weird, sexy kinks and shit, and then like also being a sociopathic murderer or a psychopathic murderer. And like, if you flip that fucking switch, you can't flip it back, man. I'm actually actively afraid of that. Like some sort of like weird thing where you just happen to be masturbating and then all of a sudden you witness a murder at the exact same moment as you come, and then forever you're just totally fucked in the brain and you just have to like jump off a cliff because there's no going back.
You did witness a murder. Those actors murdered that pussy.
What?
That was lame.
That was so lame. I didn't even know what you were talking about.
I don't know. No, so if you are...
Derail.
Listen, I'm giving you a fucking warning right now, bitch. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Turn this shit off right now if you haven't watched it yet and you don't want to hear my fucking opinion.
Where's our tone? Where's our tone? Boop tone.
Boop tone.
Boop. I just don't even know really what to say. Now that we're alone, you who have watched the new Halloween movie, we who have watched the new Halloween movie, there were tears.
So many tears.
There were smiles. There were head nods of deep appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny almost drew blood because he grabbed my hand so hard that my rings cut into the flesh of my hand.
And I did.
I was very happy.
Here's the thing. If you have less than a glowing review of this film, fuck you.
It's just straight up fuck you. Fuck you.
Fuck you. If you don't have a glowing review of this film, you don't know shit. You don't know what you're talking about. Your opinion's irrelevant.
Kenny's like, I'll fight you right now. I'll fight you in the street.
I will.
Come to my house.
No,
here's my
I got
address.
so pissed off because I was looking at the trailer because I like to watch the trailer over and over.
Yes.
I still watch the trailer.
Yes.
And people that have now seen it are like, I don't understand. I thought she had a son. What happened to that little girl?
No, but they explain that.
Right.
No, but they explain that in like the
idiots.
first like 20 minutes of the movie.
Right. So these are idiots that come into it and they are literally commenting, I was so confused. I didn't understand. I thought she had another daughter. Where's this daughter come from? I thought she had a son. I thought, wasn't she a headmistress? Wasn't she a teacher? What's she doing? And I'm literally scrolling through these comments.
If you missed that part of the film?
I'm literally scrolling through these comments like, what the fuck are you doing? How are you... Do you not, like, research a fucking movie before you go and watch it? Like...
Do you know what I mean? Probably not, honestly, but
I mean, it's
but
like
they do say it in the movie. Like you don't, you genuinely do not have to research the movie beforehand because they literally wrote it into the film.
Well, no,
you just literally got to watch it.
No, the only thing that they wrote in was that they told you that he wasn't his sister. He wasn't her sister. She wasn't his sister.
They basically tell you though that all of that is scrapped.
No.
I would imagine that would scrap all the rest of it, right?
Well, you would think, but people are fucking idiots. And, I mean, and that's just a few people because the film has gotten glowing reviews. It has smashed the fucking box office. Like, it has fucking... It's like what? It's the #1 movie ever with, like, a female lead over...
Over 55.
Over
That's
55.
what I was going to talk about. That, to me... so I love the franchise. I've always loved the franchise. You guys know I love Michael. I always talk about how I love Michael, and yes, that's a huge part of it. But for me, in this movie, it's about women. It's about the most badass final girl we've ever had, and now here she is, and she's not a final girl anymore. She's a final woman. And she is real looking and beautiful and not glamorous, not made up, not false. She looks like herself, and she is messy and unevenly cut, so to say, and she has mental illness issues, which is a whole nother side street that we could go down. Yeah. You know, she has things that she's dealing with, and she still manages to be a badass. And I think that, to me, means a lot. Because it's very rare that we get a movie like this where we do have a female lead who is over 55 and who, frankly, looks it. Like, you know, and isn't...
Well, I mean,
trying to be anything. She looks amazing. She looks beautiful, but she looks beautiful in a real way. Yeah. Right. She's not trying to be... Because I feel like so often we see people who are in their 40s or 50s or whatever, specifically women, who are trying to look 30. And Jamie Lee, one of the things I love about her is she doesn't do that. She looks like she looks. She looks like herself. And it doesn't hurt that she's also fucking beautiful. But I love that we have that narrative. I love that it's, you know, her and her daughter and her granddaughter. And so we have 3 generations of the Strode family who are clearly have that badass gene. And I think that it means a lot to me that a movie like that with such, you know, girl power did so well at the box office and, you know, has gotten the accolades that it has gotten.
Yeah.
And worldwide, it's grossed just under 107 million, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's million. To be honest with you, I've never read boxofficemojo.com, so it could be billions. I don't know.
I don't think it's billions, baby.
Is 106 billion a lot?
Yeah.
That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
We'll stick with just under 107 million then.
Yeah. So I loved Michael in this film. I mean, I love him always, but let's point out a few.
He felt like Michael. He felt like movie #1, Michael.
Yes and no for me.
Well, correction. He felt like 40 years later, movie #1, Michael.
Yes and no for me.
Really?
So, yes. He definitely felt like he was Michael.
Yes.
But I felt like Michael was a little more brutal.
In this one?
Yes.
Huh.
the kills were a little more brutal.
True. The kid who's killed in the
kid
car.
was different. I was like not expecting that.
Me either. No, because if you'll recall that film, and see what the movie does that's so brilliant, they didn't just rewrite the first movie, because that would have been way too easy. But what they did do was set up situations where this movie frames the first movie. So there's a scene in the first movie where they're at, the mental hospital, and, Michael steals the car from the nurse, right?
Yeah.
And she's not harmed. Gets the shit scared out of her, but she's not harmed. And I thought that what we were setting up with the boy and his dad, and they see the overturned bus, and the dad gets out of the car and goes to investigate. Obviously, he's going to die because he's in Michael's way. But the boy was not necessarily specifically in Michael's way, and yet he is murdered too. So I think that was a way of setting the tone early on for, like, the rules are different now.
Yeah, it was very much the rules are different because, like, you always expected Michael in the original, like, if you were in his way or had slighted him,
right,
he was coming for you.
Right. And there's nothing you can do to stop
At his end game, which was always Lori. If you were somewhere in that path between him and Lori, that was it. He's
going through you. Right. But if you just step out of the way, most of the time you're fine. For
the most part. But not in this film. So, yes, that's a great example or a great explanation. Like, the game's changed.
Right.
He's just fucking... It's sort of like
now, instead of being a laser beam that's focused on getting to Lori, he's a wrecking ball that is just Miley Cyrus taking out everything in a wide
Oh my fucking God.
To Lori.
Just
Miley Cyrus
Michael
with a Michael mask
ball.
on, swinging. I'm into it. Michael with the mask and his boots, and then nothing else.
The fucking
on the wrecking ball.
The teeth.
The teeth was a beautiful choice. I would like to shake the hand of whoever came up with the teeth.
Yes.
Can we also just say, when we saw the trailer, I thought that the two people who went to see Michael in the mental asylum to interview him, I thought they were reporters of some kind. I thought they were journalists. When they said that they were podcasters...
No, I think that was a lie.
I audibly squealed. It was a lie?
No, I think they're like actual journalists, but he was like...
Are we sure they're not podcasters?
Baby, they're not podcasters.
Why?
What
newspaper do they work for?
That was like a joke thing.
I don't know. I don't know about it. Might be real.
They weren't podcasters. There was a moment where they came up and they said that they were like writing a book.
So they told a lot of different stories.
So they told a lie to get so that Lori would like let them in.
Oh.
He was like, oh, we're podcasters.
So Lori likes podcasters, but not journalists.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like I think that was like a little moment. They were not podcasters.
Oh, I thought they were podcasters.
No, you just wanted them to be podcasters.
I don't know about that. I'm going to rewatch it. You know what, guys? Jury's out.
I'm literally fucking telling you, my eyes were peeled to the whole fucking movie. I don't know what you were doing. No, you just heard fucking podcasters and then just assumed that they were now podcasters.
I mean, I did say it.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
I mean, but we
Katie,
said it.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
I'm open to that possibility.
But anyway, no, I found him much more brutal. If I had one critique for the film, and I don't even know that it's a critique, but I'm merely pointing it out. They showed Michael a lot more than what I would have guessed they would have. So, like, there's that scene, like, where the journalist or podcaster
right,
is walking into the station, the gas station or whatever, and you visibly see Michael in the background beating up the mechanic.
Right.
You wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have seen him move and go into places.
Right. You're talking about you wouldn't have seen in the original, you would not have seen that.
Yeah, like his original like characterization.
Right.
You didn't get a lot, like he was just the shape and he just appeared. You know what I mean?
Right.
They showed a lot more of his movements, which I think made him a little more human. Mm-hmm. So I definitely thought they brought a level of humanity to Michael.
Well, too, because Michael has, we see Lori having aged from being this teenager, right, to now she's this weathered woman. And we see the same change in Michael. Michael is not, at his necessarily, I don't want to say he's not at his prime because he can still kill a motherfucker, but like they don't keep the issue of aging away from him. They don't exclude him from that sort of aging thing. You do see certain signs. You see that his facial hair is white, or you see that like certain parts of his hair are white. Yeah. You see that change in him, and you read it too in his body movements. It's clear that he has aged, and they aged the mask too to kind of give you that same effect.
Yeah.
So that he was included in the time that has passed, and it's not like he's, the exact same Michael that he was in the first film.
No, not at all.
Because of course this film, obviously, like we talked about at the beginning of our discussion, discounts everything that happened after the first movie. So it's as though that happened in a time capsule, and then here we are revisiting it 40 years later. Everything else in the middle is just scrapped.
Yeah. Yeah. I just loved it. I can't praise the film enough. I will be buying it.
I mean, of course, let's be honest with you. Even if it was shit, we would still be buying it.
Right.
But now we will buy it and be happy because it's actually like good.
Yeah, no, it's fucking phenomenal. The music is awesome.
Mm-hmm. And John Carpenter, learning that Carpenter was in on it, I think is what Halloween fans needed. I don't think that Halloween fans would have been down for another remake had he not endorsed it. They probably would have gone to see it. They probably would have trickled out. But I think him kind of throwing his blessing onto the project definitely did a world of good. And he actually did visit the set, and he wasn't on set for long. He definitely was it sounds like from all the sources that I read, he was very courteous about letting it be Blumhouse's project. Mm-hmm. And he trusted them to develop it and work with it. But he did visit the set and kind of like see everybody and kind of physically bring his blessing to. Yeah.
Well, he gave his like stamp of approval on the script and all of that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely can see John's influence, and I love. I mean, his score, amazing. There was actually several moments that I cried, but one of the moments was right when after he kills everybody at the gas station, and he goes to put on his mask, and they do that like slow like. Do 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 do, and then he just slowly puts it on, and it's like all is right with the world now.
But also so wrong.
But also so right.
No, what got me was the new theme that had when we had it reprised, I think is when it was. It was later in the movie. It was definitely past the halfway mark. That like almost like a foghorn. It was like bong. So like you had a very, I don't want to say predictable because it's not necessarily predictable, but it's familiar. The familiar Halloween theme with the kind of like electronica vibe. And you think you know where it is, and then all of a sudden he drops that bong on you that's never been there before, and that was like a very. Like both of us had a very like physical reaction to that because we were like, fuck.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And you know, if you've watched Halloween a million times like we have, like a difference like that that's so jarring definitely helped kind of put me more in the film. You know what I mean? And it built up my emotion so much more. And Carpenter's great with that. When it comes to music, he's so awesome at manipulating me in ways that don't make me mad that I'm being manipulated.
Right.
Because they're just so good.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people's, like a lot of critiques and stuff that I've read of the people that aren't, they're kind of upset that like the way it ended, they felt like it was a little too abrupt. And I can see where they get that feeling.
I can see that, but then again, the original Halloween, the ending is very abrupt. He falls over the balcony, and that is it. Like, you know what I mean? And then we go back and we look, and he's not there. Like, it's very abrupt.
Yeah.
It's the nature of what it is. It's the nature of the story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah, I just feel like people are so used to getting that, like, twist ending.
Right. Or an explanation.
Or like an explanation.
That's the issue. I think that we explain a lot of horror nowadays, and honestly, it's much scarier to not have a reason.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
She's in the back of the truck, and
Very
you just
much
get
so.
that like it just cuts. Or not doesn't cut, but like the frame freezes.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah, it very much gave me a Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the end.
And a lot of like old school movies do that.
Right.
Like they cut it.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
I think that was totally, it's very clear that.
And it's not like they just cut it. Like they zoomed in on the knife.
Yeah.
And cut the frame and then.
It's very clear that Blumhouse did their research, that they did their homework. Danny McBride in particular, one of the head scriptwriters, and also didn't he help direct too? Danny McBride. He does his homework, man. He's very. I think a lot of people thought that he was, which we're past this now, but a lot of people thought that he was kind of just like this comedian, this like yokel type dude who was going to fuck up these things. And I remember thinking, you know, when his name became attached to it, I was worried, right? And he was also attached to the Alien reboot that we got. Not necessarily a reboot, but to the sequel to Prometheus, which I can't remember the name of. Alien Resurrection?
I don't know.
I think it was Alien Resurrection. That's
That's your
wheelhouse.
franchise.
Yeah. When McBride was connected to Alien Resurrection, I was very nervous. But he did a great job. And that kind of helped me be a little bit more confident when the news dropped that I think it was shortly after, or maybe shortly before Alien Resurrection came out, that McBride was attached to this. He's really good at doing his homework, and he's really good at matching the tones of classic films. So I would 100% bet you that it came straight out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because I guarantee you that he watched all of those movies multiple times to kind of get that vibe. And I'm sure that abrupt ending, since it is so synonymous with that genre, and especially with the early days of that genre, the slasher genre, I'm sure that was on purpose.
Yeah.
We're just not used to it now because that's not our typical movie fare nowadays. But I think it actually worked very well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any qualms with it, but I know a lot of people did. Mm-hmm. But they're too basic, so. They're basic bitches.
No. If you did have a qualm with it, we are interested to know what your thoughts are. And we have just spent the past fucking hour going through all of our shit with the Halloween franchise and what we thought of the new movie. And we want to know what you think of the new movie.
Do you think they're going to make a sequel?
Do you think they're going to make a sequel? Do you think that the granddaughter is now crazy because she had to fight for her life? Can we just say also, just once for the record, just because I need to, it's not a cage. It's a trap.
It's a trap. It is a trap. Just like this podcast.
You know what? You could describe my lady bits the same way.
Oh, my God.
That's what I'm going to whisper to my husband. We get down the aisle all the way to the end.
It's not a cage.
We get married. And they say, you can now kiss your bride. And I'm going to whisper in his ear, it's not a cage. It's a trap. And he's going to know then that he is fucked up.
For real. I don't know. I think they said that if they wanted to see how the movie would perform, and a sequel may be in the works. Obviously, it has performed. Michael has performed, honey.
A sequel was actually in the works before they ever started shooting this film, because originally it was supposed to be 2 movies.
Yes.
That they were going to do, but in Danny McBride's words, they didn't want to fuck it up, and then they were going to film 2 films at once, right? Yeah. And in his words, he didn't want to fuck it up and have to wait a whole nother year for another movie to drop so that everybody could hate him again.
Right.
So they decided to just do one, see how it went, and then maybe try to do another one, which is clever. Yes, very clever.
But that tells me that they have some semblance of a script for
right, that they know where they would go. Yeah, for sure.
So we'll see.
For sure.
I don't know. I would enjoy it. So
I don't know. I don't know that they're going to get Jamie, though, for a second one. I think this was kind of her one and done. I don't want it to be the case, but I think it may have been. But we'll see.
Oh, can I just say how I just realized this? Karen Strode, her initials on that gun was KS, same as mine. I was like, oh, my initials are in this movie.
That's awesome.
So anyway, guys, that is our episode for you this evening.
It is. We want to hear what you think. Tell us on the Facebook group. If you're not on the Facebook group, you got to join the Facebook group. You got to join the Facebook group. It's so cool. Just go to Facebook, search the Haunted Heart Podcast. You will find our group, which is a closed group so that your friends can't see how creepy you actually are. You are safe. It is a safe space with us. If you request to join, we will approve you. The other thing that you will see now when you search the Haunted Heart Podcast on Facebook is our page. We do have a Facebook page. We are going to start putting some more content out through that. We had to do it, essentially. Like Instagram and Facebook were like, bitch, you got to make this fucking page. So we made a page. If you will, go like it. That would be really cool. We are also on Instagram at the Haunted Heart Podcast, and we are on Twitter at the Haunted Heart. Keep up with us on all the different platforms. We're usually putting shit out on all the different platforms, and it's different shit. So make sure that you're following us everywhere that you can possibly fucking follow us to stay up on all our bullshit. The other thing is Patreon. We got some shit on Patreon. You should check it out if you want to be on Patreon.
Exclusive
shit. If you want bonus content, if this hour or so that you get with us a week is not enough, then you can get more time over on Patreon. And a lot of our Patreon family members are super talented, and they do things like make free wallpapers for us and do cool, downloadable art prints and cool shit like that. So definitely hop over there.
Yes.
And that's patreon.com/
The Haunted Heart.
Good job. I like how that was teamwork there. The other thing is, if you have any interesting stories, lately people have been contacting me, and some of it is happening on the group page too, where they're going back and listening to old episodes, and they're like, "Oh, I had this really cool story when you guys talked about Ouija boards." Ooh, did you hear that? I said Ouija, not Ouija.
Ooh.
Slap my hand. No, people will contact us and be like, "Oh, I had a really cool story about sleep demons." But, I missed the sleep demon episode. Here's the thing. Nobody knows what the episode's going to be about until we announce the episode. So, it's okay. So if you have a really cool story that's about cults, when we covered secret societies or sleep demons from episode 2 or vampires or any type of shit like that, we always, always, always want to hear listener stories. So shoot us an email, thehauntedheartpodcast@gmail.com. Shoot us a Facebook message, shoot us an Instagram message. Email's probably the best, but we will read your stories on air, and we will all have a great time reminiscing.
Yes. So it's that time.
It is that time.
All right, guys.
We've made it to the end of another episode.
I'm still alive.
Barely. I am for right now.
All right, guys. You know what to do. Remember, as always, stay spooky.